Hello and welcome to the Farm RPG podcast. I'm your host, Bhelogan. In this episode, we start off with a player, not so much player, Dead Bushia. After that, we have a discussion with Saph about the recent meme contest. And we wrap things up with a mechanics deep dive in skill XP with coderanger. All right, with me today is a young player who doesn't actually play Farm RPG. He has played one of Firestream's other games, though, in Titan Conquest. But this particular player has contributed especially to the podcast in other ways, being involved in the artwork and the outro music. So I'd like to welcome Dead Bushia.
Hello, it is me.
It is you.
Yes, it is.
So our standard questionnaire isn't super applicable for you since you don't actually play Farm RPG.
I'm a fake.
Just a fake player?
I'm a fraud.
Not really. So I'm not going to ask you how you learned about Farm RPG, because obviously we know you learned about that from Bhelogan, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Well, you kind of know Firestream's games in general. What you do know about Farm RPG, if you were going to describe it in one sentence, how would you describe Farm RPG? Again, one sentence only.
Well, I mean, I feel like games like those, it's mostly community based.
Yeah, it is. It's a big part of it's a community, playing with the same people. But you don't need to join that community because you can just come ask me, right?
Yeah.
What's going on, Bhelogan? All right.
Latest tea.
So your user ID you use online is Dead Bushia. Where did that come from?
So I think it was back like 2016, 2015. Well, it had to be 2015 because I put my name on comics and stuff with that name back in 2015 when I was in the elementary school. And I was on a Minecraft creative mode server, and I like to build a bunch of random stuff, and I just thought it'd be funny to make a town based off of dead bushes. And there was this one YouTuber I watched at the time that kept making jokes about it and put it in the videos like, oh, it's a dead bush, it's like the most holy item in the game, but it's literally just a dead bush. And so I thought it was like the funniest thing ever. And I just made a city called Dead Bushia. Like, you know, you have IA at the end of places and it's like a town or a city.
Right.
And that was basically just the name I picked. And I kind of liked it. I thought it was silly. And I just kept using it.
I think we even had a t-shirt with on it at one point, right? For your YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was back in 2016. And we don't really talk about that.
It's not named Bruno. We can talk about it.
Making silly jokes.
Yes, I'm great at silly jokes.
Yeah.
So what kind of games do you like to play?
Honestly, it's mostly a mix of Roblox and I sometimes play Minecraft. But for the most part, it's just Roblox because I develop a game on the platform, so I have a lot of friends and stuff, and you know, there's just a lot of fun things you can do as friends on the platform as well.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about some of your art contributions to the podcast. So specifically, let's start with the outro music. So you've been writing music for how long now? Digital music?
I started in 2019 writing music.
About 4 years now?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It doesn't seem that long the older you get. Maybe when you're young, it seems old. 4 years seems really short to me.
I still remember it like it was the other day.
So what platform do you use to write your music?
I use mainly FL Studio because that's the most beginner friendly at the time when I started, and it just looked pretty easy to use. And I have already, or by the time I started using it, I already saw a bunch of tutorials for it, so I kind of got the gist of it. But the first DAW I've ever seen was Ableton, but that was more advanced, so I didn't really go with that.
So you primarily use FL Studio, and you use a lot of synths that you make yourself, or do you use separate plugins for those? What do you like to use?
So I use mainly like Vital and Serum for just electronic sounds in general, but I like to use a lot of FL's built-in plugins. Like Flex is very good for real sounding instruments instead of having to pay like hundreds of dollars for contact libraries.
What are your musical influences?
Just a lot of electronic music, especially things you'd hear in games like Geometry Dash. And I mean, I've even had some of my music in featured Geometry Dash levels because I've worked with friends and stuff to create collaborations, and we've done some cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, in addition to digital music, you also do a lot of drawing. Where do you think you get your artistic talent from?
I really don't know where I got my artistic talent from. I've just always had it, I guess.
That should be a really easy question. Was it from your dad or your mom?
Honestly, if I'm being honest...
You should be honest, because I'll call you out on it if you're not.
I mean, your drawings aren't bad.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know a whole lot about, your guys' artistic potential, because
I think you get most of it from your mom. She's a pretty good artist, and all your siblings are too.
I've never seen mom draw straight up from imagination, though. It's always been pictures copied.
Yeah, she uses a reference drawing most of the time. I have a few she's done straight up from imagination. So with drawing, you mentioned prior that you used to draw a lot of comics on paper.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I used to sell comics in elementary and middle school, and I actually made semi-decent money from them, but I don't even remember where all that money went. I think I kind of just didn't use it and never found it. I really can't remember what happened to all the money I had. But I even remember there was a card game I made out of comics it was in 2015 when I was in elementary school. I had a comic series where it was just these characters I came up with, and they were silly and goofy and did, silly and goofy things, and people really liked it. And I remember I made my own cards, and they had different rarities, and you could trade them into me, and people would buy them. I was a dealer on the bus, and people would buy the packs for me, and I remember people were just excited whenever I came out with them, and I made some money from that as well.
Cool. Well, you did some of the digital art for the podcast cover with the, what am I calling it? The steampunk anime version of American Gothic.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
So what tools did you use to create that artwork?
So I have my drawing tablet, of course, which I bought with my own money. I'm an adult.
That money you made off your Roblox game, right?
Yeah, so really that's how I'm able to support a lot of the stuff I do. I'm very fortunate to have a profitable Roblox game, which is not very common to have. But I bought my own drawing tablet. It was around $200, $300. I can't remember, but it's pretty good. And I use free software. It's called Krita. It's pretty good, and has a lot of stuff you can do with it, and I've gotten very comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, occasionally, I use Photoshop just to change colors and make it more bright, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you do your drawings in Krita, and then sometimes use Photoshop to color adjust?
Yeah, but as I've gotten better with colors, that's become less necessary, luckily.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap this up. Thanks so much for taking a couple minutes for our interview with our, I guess, not player spotlight, Dead Bushia.
I wish it could last longer.
All right, let's talk about another topic and something that happened recently in game. From time to time, Firestream likes to host events and competitions for creative content among the player base. And one of those we had recently was a meme contest. So Saph's here with me today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the meme contest and how that went down?
Well, I mean, it was on Reddit, and then everyone posted their memes. How many did we get? I think it was something like 200 and something, right?
Several hundred, yeah.
And then people just started voting, and then the mods started voting, and dwindling down and down and down until sort of a battle royale as to which ones were the funniest to us. And then I think Orville, Genji, I don't remember the other names, but 6 people won, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was on at the time when Orville saw that he won too. And it was all blind, so we didn't know who they were. But it's kind of funny that, again, because chat is such a big part of the community, whenever the winners won, it's we know all these people.
Yeah, that is fun. So I know I had a couple of favorite memes, and they weren't necessarily everybody else's. But what were some of the favorite ones that you saw?
Well, I have a dry sense of humor and a self-deprecating kind of sense of humor. So all of the ones that basically made fun of Forcepack and then quests, because my favorite one, top 3 was the one where there's a train coming and it's you prepare for a quest, and then bam, Firestream makes a quest that needs a new item, And that harkens me back to the day because I started right before the haunted house event and Halloween. And back then, right before it, everyone was talking about like, I was planting corn and I found out that you can get candy corn from it. I was planting pumpkins and I found out you can get a jack-o'-lantern. So I was planting corn for my life, trying to get candy corn. And I'm like, aha, I got 3 candy corn. I'm ready for this event.
Yep.
and then the event started and it was like, you need 300 candy corn. I was like, what the, like, and that's been my feeling almost every quest, because every time someone tells me like, oh, you don't want to over prepare because that's no fun. I'm like, you can over prepare. There is no such thing as over prepare. I'll have like thousands of something. And then here comes a new quest and Firestream adds a new item. And it's like the geckos, the gecko get-up that I call it. When I was in Black Rock Canyon, I was at 980,000 stamina, and I ended with, I think, 86,000. So I lost almost all my stamina looking for those geckos. And then, community challenge today is for geckos to help people. And there's a bitter part of me that's like, they need to suffer what I suffered. So all those memes were fun. It was the ones where, there's a person driving and it's like, oh, helpful day and everything's light. And then it swerves to the right and it was like, oh, Force Path made a quest. And, almost all painful quests are from him. And all of those memes were the funniest to me. There were a couple of other ones too, like the Read the Quest one with SpongeBob. That made me giggle. when it was like, and FFF at one point told me like, you need to stop doing that. And I before I was a mod, because every single library thing funny that I had, I would comment like, looking for wax scandal. And or a fancy picture or whatever it's called, freaky picture, because that meme was SpongeBob and he asks what's his name, Seaman or something. He asks him like,
it's Patrick talking to, I think it was Manta Ray, if I remember correctly.
Oh, there you go. Yes. And he's like, so you've read the quest, yes, and you know where the item is, yes. So you're gonna go looking for it, or like you know the password's in there, yes. So you're gonna say it.
Yep.
Trade channel looking for wax candle, offering 10 OJ, or that's like, and then I've been guilty of that. And I'm like, yeah, I know exactly and everything, and then I'll go like in a channel and go the trade channel and go like, I'm looking for etc. And even now as I'm on, someone's like, that's not tradable.
Oops, I should know, right?
Yeah, that's part of the quest. Oh, okay, never mind. You didn't see this. But yeah, those memes were the funny ones, the ones that like make fun of what we go through. Those are the ones that make me laugh.
I think my favorite one, and I commented on Reddit, was the boyfriend walking with his girlfriend, turning around looking at the other girl walking by, and it's sleep, and then crops getting ready to harvest at 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, yeah.
I just came back from Brazil, and reset while I was there was almost 4 a.m. Yeah, 4 a.m. exactly. And I felt that because I was like, I'm at vacation, so I'm coming out of bars late, like 1 a.m. And I'm like, let me watch something. It's 2 a.m. It's so close to 4. It's 3 a.m. Why don't I just stay till 4? And then, I'm just going to do the reset and then I'm going to sleep. And then you start talking in chat and then you see the birds flying outside. I'm like, oh, it's morning.
You missed your chance for that sleep. For me, it's more, I get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, I should see if my crops are ready. They probably need to be harvested and rotate them. So I grab my phone as I go.
For me, it's always about reset. But the crops are, now I'm doing wheat. So at least it's like 4 hours and something. And I'm almost doing it because of that. I need a crop that's like 18 hours. And then I'm good. Back when I was in corn jail, that was like, my head was just corn like throughout the day. And I'd be like, someone would say like, good morning. Yeah, good morning. Oh, right. Corn. Like somehow that would remind me, because that's 1 hour. Go check on the corn. Go check on corn. or when I'm doing mushrooms, 18 minutes all the time. I'm like, random thing. And then but I can't just go in and check my crop. Like I start talking and then it's been like, I notice how long I've been when there's another round of mushrooms ready. And I'm like, oh, I've been here a while.
That's about the right time. All right, cool. So the meme contest ended up being a lot of fun. We had some winners from it. To kind of put you on the spot, if you were going to recommend to Firestream some other type of contest like in the future, what kind of ideas do you have? I
mean, I think quest ideas would be cool. It would be cool to have like a player submitted quest, you know, so that the community is more of a part even of the whole game, or pretty much any fan submitted official part of the game would be cool. If we had like a contest for the next crop, and you know maybe someone could even draw it. That would be kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, that could be fun. I think thinking back to Titan Quest Conquest, we've had a drawing contest, an art contest in general.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Anything like poetry or music or your drawings, that kind of stuff. Those were fun.
Yeah, those kind of things are fun. I like the things where something is fan made and it becomes part of the official game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that always adds a lot to it. I kind of wish, I would love to see the choose your own adventure style quests that we had in Titan Conquest come into Farm RPG. I think that could be a lot of fun. There was a tool.
Oh yeah, I played a little bit Titan Conquest, and yeah, that would be cool too. I like the choose your adventures kind of things, and I liked that whole mechanic of knowing what path to choose through trial and error. That's a cool idea too.
Yeah,
it's just this is a farming game.
It is,
but it's going to grow.
How many other mini games are you going to put in there, right?
I call it craft RPG sometimes, just because I'm like, there's so many other sides of it. I recently saw a review on iOS that was like, well, it's a farming game. You farm, you harvest crop. What else is there to do? And they give it a 1 star. And I'm like, how long did you play for? Because that's literally like the 1% of the game.
Yeah, your toes wet.
I even suggested to, I even suggested to Firestream, like, maybe we could have some sort of like raid thing, like the areas being attacked or the farms are being attacked, and we all do something. Because like this game, I'm like, what can we do? But also not become Titan Conquest so that we're not armoring up and fighting things. But it's growing so much more than just farming.
Yeah, daily chores are almost exclusive, almost completely ripped off of Titan Conquest, the way it's done with the user interface and all of that.
Oh, I never got too far in Titan Conquest just because it was so complex. And it's like, we're in season 2 or etc. And I was like, also, I don't need another game to take over my life like Farm RPG.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me not try. But at some point, this game is like, it's becoming more than just farming. I mean, once we have cooking, then we have bookstores, then we have there's hunting that he eventually wants to have. There's on the roadmap like tavern. There's like, this is more like a city RPG soon. Mm-hmm. That's why when that review was like, what else is there to do after you harvest and you plant? I was like, everything else.
Yep. Yeah, we had a long conversation with Augie about the roadmap and how much faith to put in that. That's actually what's going to happen versus we have screenshots of Firestream just saying, I don't know, I make this up as I go.
Yeah. And also I think it's like, there's one update that's on the roadmap. And then in between there's like 10 out of nowhere. And this has not changed since I've become a moderator. But if I see Firestream 1, I'm like checking updates, like, what just changed? What just changed? It'll just randomly like, oh, by the way, here's this new thing that's a huge thing that wasn't anywhere on the roadmap. I think partly it's because, after Glassworks and everything, people were like, oh, but we expected that. So he just surprises us instead. So I don't know how much faith I put into it either. Because it's like the other day, we were just like, yeah, time for a new pet, capybara. Like, what? Like, I had just bought level 7 bear the day before and spent all my silver. And I was like, no.
There's a new toy now.
And again, yeah, I was like, no, I want it. And then I was like, back to like, because I haven't like farmed silver in so long with so much passive silver. I was like, back to like, please, Nets, I need to make money somehow, and to get it. And now, like, again, because this is also Horde RPG, save your stuff for updates.
All right, we got a little bit off topic. That's all right there. Again, that meme contest was hosted on Reddit, though. So if you missed it, you can hop onto the Farm RPG Reddit and check out all the memes.
Yeah. I'm not big on Reddit, but I just recently joined, and mostly because of the contest. But there's a lot of stuff there, too. It's a good community, too. It's a bigger community. It's a little bit scary for me. But there's a lot of fun stuff there, too. That is the page where I saw it, like somewhere in Reddit. I just wasn't logged in. Like Farm RPG, top incremental game. And that's what got me to play.
Yeah, it's funny how you get a post in the right group at the right time on Reddit, and it brings a ton of players in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Saph, for joining us and talking about the meme contest. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Let's dig into another mechanics deep dive. And this time, let's talk about skill XP and how that works. Now, this is something like some of the other deep dives we've done where it has changed a little bit over time, not too drastically. Probably the biggest one that's had the most change in it is skill XP for exploring, when we had a bug and a bracket in the wrong space, so that sprinting shoes gave you bonus XP for exploring efficiency. But before we dig into that too much, let's just talk about skill XP. There's 4 different skills: farming, fishing, crafting, exploring. How do you go about gaining skills or XP for those skills?
Yeah, so the sort of core idea for all 4 of them is that you get items from those skills, and each of those items has an XP value, and any item that you receive from a skill, it gives that XP for that item goes to that skill. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that, as they so always do. So let's just go through them one at a time. So farming is the first one that most people will probably try to be leveling early on, as they try to get a couple of better crops before they switch over to doing a little bit more crafting. For farming, when you plant a seed, you get 15 XP for that. Regardless of what seed it is, you get 15 XP for putting the seed in the ground. When you harvest, you get XP based on whatever the crop was. In general, the higher level crops will give you more XP. There's a big table if you look on the farming page in the wiki. If you really want to click an awful lot and you have fairly high grow time reduction perks, you can get a lot of farming XP very quickly by growing peppers, which with maximum perks take 12 seconds. The peppers themselves, I think, give 1 XP each, but it doesn't really matter. You're just there for that 15 planting bonus, because getting 15 times 36 or 40 or however many crop rows you have every 12 seconds adds up real fast. But you have to sit there and click 3 or 4 times every 12 seconds. A lot of people don't have the patience for that. So the real way most people get XP for farming is from crop rows and buildings. So when you construct a building upgrade on your farm or buy a new crop row, that's 1-to-1 silver to XP. So if you buy 100 million silver crop row or a 10 million silver building, that's 100 million XP, that's 10 million XP. The XP multiplier perks, you can get up to plus 20% from perk points and an additional 10% from farm supply, so 30% total. All 4 skills have up to 30% bonus XP. That bonus does not apply for crop rows and buildings. So those are just 1-to-1. You do get a bonus during events. If you've seen people recommend waiting to build your 1 billion or 10 billion silver crop row during an XP bonus event, that's because you do get the 20% bonus XP for those, but you don't get the 30% or whatever other multiplier you have from your perks. You do get those multipliers from the plant and harvest XPs, though. So if you have 10%, then the planting is going to be 17 instead of 15. The other common source of XP for farming is beets and grape juice. That gives, I think, 5 million. If you have 9 crop rows, each cycle of that is like 5 million XP. So all those add together. There are some exceptions to the usual rules. If you have the double prizes perk, that gives you a chance to get two items from one harvest. Notably, the second one does not give any XP. This also applies to mushrooms, which you grow 10 mushrooms from one seed, from one planting. You only get XP for one mushroom. So it doesn't usually come up because mushrooms don't give very much XP, and usually you're not growing them for XP. But since we're doing a deep dive, that is a special case. I think that's all of the rules for farming XP.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the library page, noticing we don't have mushrooms at all on the charts. I think that was intentional. And I see somebody came and added pine trees. I think that was Kia Cat.
Yep.
And for the max perks sections, just put in math is hard - Kia Cat.
Oh,
so might have a little work to go in.
Yeah, pine trees are a little bit interesting. If you look at the XP per hour, before, if we ignore pine trees, there were sort of two ranges. There was the 420 XP per hour and the 600 XP per hour, which were sort of the early game and late game crops. And then I think pine trees aren't in either of those. They're like 625 or something, because
right.
I think Fire Street was sort of doing this freestyle, which, in the end, other than beets and grape juice, none of the crops really make enough XP that it super matters after your first week in the game. You're going to get most of your XP from crop rows and buildings. Oh, the other thing I should mention about building. So the building itself gets XP. Upgrades inside the building. So like when you upgrade your sawmill or you upgrade your quarry, you don't get XP for those. It's just the initial building purchase.
Yep, very good points. I know that's a common question that always comes up, is if I upgrade my sawmill, do I get XP? And the answer is no.
That would everyone would get to 99 a little bit too quickly that way, and by a little bit too quickly, I mean almost immediately. Okay, so that's farming.
Back when auto crafter was a thing, that was always a common complaint. How come I don't get experience for buying more auto crafting slots?
Yep.
I think we did actually. I can't remember. We may have.
I don't know. It was before I started doing heavy research.
That system is gone now.
Yes.
Our crafting's completely different. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so crafting XP, we can do that one next. So crafting XP is relatively simple. Again, there's no more auto crafting, as Bhelogan said. It's really just when you craft an item, you get the XP of the item. So you make sturdy shield, that's worth 4,000 XP. You get 4,000 XP times whatever your crafting multiplier is, somewhere between 1 and 1.3. So that one's pretty simple. I don't think there's any particular exceptions. Resource Saver does some funky stuff with, like, you get, because of the new crafting system when we got rid of auto crafting, Resource Saver was kind of reworked. It still does what it says, but it works a little bit differently. So instead of saving resources, you get more outputs. That works kind of like double prizes. All the bonus ones don't give you any XP. So if you try to craft 10 sturdy shields, you're getting 40,000 XP regardless of the Resource Saver perks.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have guessed that was the other way around, based on we used to do a lot of comparisons of what's better, Resource Saver or Item Duplicator with auto crafters, and try to figure out which one was better in which scenario. But with the change in crafting now, where you hit once and it just produces everything. I don't know if I've ever dug into it to look at the XP, to see if it's changed. But sounds like it has from your observations.
Yep. Yeah. The general rule seems to be that you get the XP for the items that you sort of make on purpose. Anything that's a random chance, you don't get anything for.
Very fair. Very fair.
Yeah. So that's crafting. Fishing is next, maybe. So fishing, relatively simple. You get XP. Each fish has an XP value. When you catch a fish, you get that fish's XP times your multiplier. With nets, you get the XP for all of your fish times their multiplier plus a bonus. The bonus is a little bit weird in that it, as far as I can tell, doesn't follow the normal math. I have the list somewhere. So I'm not sure on the 1.0 because I can't turn off my farm supply perk. But for 1.1 multiplier, you get a bonus of 1,245. For 1.2, you get 1,350. And for 1.3, you get 1,465, which are not quite in line with each other, which is a little bit odd. But overall, when you use a net, you get some bonus XP related to your multiplier.
I think the other part of fishing XP we haven't talked about is the streak multiplier.
Oh, yes, that is a very good point. I am one of the people that does not like manual fishing, so I mostly avoid that. But with manual fishing...
You're at the 99.9% of the player base. I get it.
Yeah. Manual fishing, so you can get a streak of how many fish in a row you've caught. For each streak up to 1,000, you get 0.1% XP. So short version, at a streak of 1,000, you are getting plus 100% XP, or double the experience. Anything over 1,000 just doesn't count. So if you're at 500, that's plus 25%. If you're at 1,000, that's double.
Yeah, the streak confused people a lot because the way it was worded in the update said if for every 100 fish, you get 10% bonus experience. And I think a lot of people thought that meant it came in 10% chunks. So anywhere from 100 to 200 was the same bonus, but it's actually not. It's every fish builds onto that. It's just 0.1% that adds on.
Yep.
Up to 1,000.
After 1,000, you can continue to get your streak, but it's just for bragging rights at that point.
Just for the merit badge, Fishing Addict 3, right? At that point.
Oh, I'm glad that people enjoy that. I am happy they have a thing that they enjoy. It is not what I enjoy.
Yeah, some of us that have it do it because we're completionists, not because we enjoyed it by any means.
Enjoyment is relative. If you enjoy the achievement, then you enjoyed something.
It's something to do, so I put it on my profile. Yeah, we had a lot of things that were even more painful than that in Titan Conquest, which was Firestream's game prior to this, with achievements that were insane. And you'd spend weeks doing something to get an achievement that was just insane. But people came up with it as something odd to do just because it was difficult.
I may or may not have added several of those to Champions Online in my tenure there.
All right, so we've gone over farming and crafting and fishing. That leaves
exploring, which is the weirdest of all of them. So exploring. Let's ignore Lemonade for right now. Just when you are making with the clicky for exploring, assuming that you have 0, so you don't have any stamina effectiveness, you don't have sprint shoes. So 1 click is 1 explorer, uses 1 stamina. That gives you 125 exploring XP plus the XP for the item you receive. Both of those multiplied by your exploring multiplier. So 1.1 to 1.3, whatever it is. So Bhelogan mentioned earlier, there used to be it started as a bug and then was later left in as a sort of side feature of stamina effectiveness from both the exploring effectiveness and sprint shoes, that used to give an XP bonus. It does not anymore. So now if you have, an effectiveness of 10, you're just doing 10 explores at once. So you are getting 10 times 125 plus 10 times whatever, plus, 10 times 125 plus whatever items you get from those 10 explorers, all of that multiplied by your XP multiplier. With Cider, it works basically the same way. You get the XP for all of your items, plus the 125 base. Items do give XP if they overflow. That's true of all skills, although you can't overflow when you're crafting, so it doesn't really apply there. But for the rest, you do still get XP when items overflow, including when you're using Cider, so it comes up a lot more often there. Lemonade is where it gets a little bit weird with exploring. So Lemonade gives you a flat 5,000 XP plus the XP of all of your items, not multiplied by any multipliers. So regardless of your perks, you will always just get 5,000 XP plus the XP of the items.
Now, is that true, the 5k XP, whether or not you have the perks that give more items with Lemonade usage?
I can't test that because I can't turn that perk off.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So I should say it is 5,000 for me, and I have no way to disable that. And the staff has. It is. I will remind everyone. It is against the code of conduct to have multiple accounts. So don't do that.
I had multiple accounts before that rule changed.
Yes, it is. It is currently against the rules.
And I used to use those for videos, but it is against the rules right now. Yeah. We used to do all kinds of things that are now against the rules, and there's a reason they're against the rule.
Yep. As games grow, this is how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the library pages and noticing there's still a statement in there about bonus XP from stamina effectiveness, and then a note on there. It changed. I'm not sure how it changed because it's supposed to be phased out. So it looks like we have a little bit of updating to do on those.
Indeed. The It got phased out when Sprint Shoes 2 was added, which was probably because if it was left in, the old bonus was actually exponential. It just didn't, it was exponential, but it was fairly small because your maximum effectiveness was, I think, like 12 at the time, unless you put in like 10 billion or something. With Sprint Shoes 2, all of a sudden there was another doubling of the effectiveness, which with the exponential bonus meant that you were getting something like 100,000 XP per explorer, which again, everyone would have hit 99 immediately, which is not actually as fun as it sounds.
Yeah, I'm looking at the old chart that we had. It went up to level 14, which is 100,000 to buy. When we did that, no one was spending 1 billion silver. And that was already 422%, so a little over 4x experience. So you can imagine when that went up to 20 and 32 when it grew. It was ridiculous.
So at that point, Firestream realized, okay, I gotta remove this bug, and that is, I'm told, when Lemonade started getting that bonus XP. I don't have numbers from before then, but my understanding is that was the sort of quid pro quo of, well, you don't get the stamina effectiveness bonus anymore, but now you do get XP from Lemonade.
Yeah, that's my rough memory of how that happened from so long ago.
All of like 2 months, but it's, it's the modern world. No one can remember things from 2 months ago. So I think that's all of the XP rules.
All right, so that's how we get experience. In your experience, which skill really should you make a priority to try to max out if you're focusing on one?
So really early on, crafting is by far the most important, I think. You want to get farming up really early on a little bit because you need to unlock some buildings. But then getting farming to 20 is pretty good, maybe to 15 or so. I forget when Forest unlocks. I think Forest unlocks at farming 20. And then getting to crafting 20 pretty rapidly, that lets you start doing sturdy shields. I assume most of your listeners are probably more towards the end game, though. So you really want to get crafting 46, lets you start doing fancy pipes, which are another big profit increase. And then 70 is lanterns, once you can start getting large amounts of coal. You do need to get your exploring up a bit to also do lanterns because you need a steady supply of coal. That's usually from the Canyon or Mount Bannon. Once you've got both of those, they are profit central. Fishing, I never really worried about as much. Fishing seems to just kind of take care of itself. The XP increases for the Lake Minerva and then Large Island are mildly ridiculous. So you will level up extremely quickly once you unlock Lake Minerva, and then even faster once you unlock Large Island. There's a reason why fishing is most people's first level 99 skill in my experience.
It's funny how that's changed. It was the slowest one for a long time.
Yeah.
The high level fishing areas we're in. I think crafting was everybody's first, and then probably exploring, and then farming and fishing was kind of like the race to be last for a long time.
The other thing that I will say is exploring is pretty much by far the hardest one. Farming kind of takes care of itself because that 1 billion crop row, that is at least 1 billion experience, and basically everyone's going to buy that at some point. It may not be your first 1 billion purchase, but it's in the top 5 usually for people. 1 billion experience is halfway to level 99 on its own with one click. There's still usually a couple weeks of beets and grape juice after that, depending on how many grape juice you can use each day. But farming usually takes care of itself. But exploring is just really slow. There's no equivalent to Large Island. Whispering Creek does give substantially better XP than anywhere else, but it's not even close to Large Island. So if you got to pick which of those perks to get, maybe early on throw them onto crafting, but later on exploring is probably going to be the one that you're going to want. You'll wish that you had put those perks on.
All right, I have one pro tip for your XP perks, and this one it took me a couple weeks to remember to do, and that is when you hit level 99, reset your perks and take those ones off. You don't need them anymore.
Hopefully.
Yeah, there is in Titan Conquest there was a system where once you got past 2,000 experience, then you could start getting experience on your gear, and so, but that wasn't developed for like years to the game. But then all of a sudden having experience over 2 billion mattered. But I doubt we'll see that in Farm RPG.
At least not for a long time. So better spend those perk points somewhere else.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for the deep dive into the skill XP. That was fun to talk about. And I think I learned a few things as well about some of the deeper mechanics on how some of that skill experience comes out.
Yeah, thank you for having me.